I graduated from CEPT Ahmedabad. I would say my journey into architecture is not after I graduated, but when I first walked into CEPT. I had no clue what architecture was all about. I had in fact decided to apply for the architecture school at Baroda. So I had gone there with a girlfriend of mine. But the entrance test in Baroda was all about math, physics, chemistry, which was my nemesis. And I said, this is not happening. And Ahmedabad is close to Baroda. So I just took a bus and came to Ahmedabad, and I walked into CEPT to apply over there. And when I walked in there as a 17-year-old, I was completely awed by the entire campus, the architecture, everything, And I said, I need to study architecture, and I need to study it right here. And that is the time I actually made up my mind to be an architect and to be right there. Of course, the 5 years at CEPT were absolute delight. I think there was so much to learn from not only your teachers, but your peers, the visiting faculty that used to come. And I think the whole idea was to stay focused. I think at that point, the kind of focus that it helped us build was that this was your first baby. That was the only thing in life, and nothing else mattered, So we went at it with a vengeance. And that was, I think, a wonderful approach to studying anything, whether it is architecture or any other profession. And I think what also was great about CEPT is the fact that after we did a design thesis, we did a research thesis. Now that was yet another experience, because I went through, I would say, 5 or 6 different formats. I wanted to do something in urbanism, but I was not able to get my head around it. And at CEPT, they do not spoon feed you. They just leave you to explore yourself and build what you want to do on your own. So after extensive studies, extensive discussions with various people, I decided to do my thesis on Kashmiri Gate. And I did not a stylistic study, but it was an anthropometric study of the Kashmiri Gate area over a period of 180 years. So my study started with the British coming in to Kashmiri Gate in 1803, and then the establishments of the British and how the area underwent changes. And I established that it's the institutions of a society that define the urban form. And as the institutions change, urban form changes. Of course, after that came technology. And what are the constants and what are the variables in any urban situations? So it was a wonderful study. I think I used to get up in the morning at 6:30, I used to go off to Kashmiri Gate. I used to park my car there and I used to walk for 3, 4, 5 hours. There is nothing as good as exploration. I would walk into people's homes. I would talk to, all sorts of people around. And I got such beautiful insights into what that area was all about, the kind of stories I heard, the kind of places people opened up their homes, people opened up their basements. I would go down, you could see the tunnels which were there that had been blocked up, the old buildings, how the river was sort of accessed from below. It was a wonderful, wonderful journey. And of course, that led me to my, degree in architecture. And then came the practice. I would say the honeymoon was over. And then came the reality where you were faced with the world, with people. There were no professors who were there to hold your hand. You were left right there to, fend for yourself. And that became the next part of the journey of doing what you believed in within the parameters of the professional world. You were actually spending a client's money. It was not an artwork that you were doing and you could tell somebody that, okay, take it or leave it. It was for somebody else at their cost and expense and to fulfill their requirements. And yet it needed to fulfill you as an architect, your thoughts, your ideas, your values, and what you grew up with. So it needed to be an amalgamation of your architectural thoughts and what the world was all about, what your clients were all about, you know. So this was really how the exploration into the professional world started. You know, I always like to tell myself that challenges and problems are in your mind. If you think there are no problems, there are no problems. And that's the kind of attitude I have always had. However, I would be really fooling myself if I said that there were actually no problems. Idea is to be able to deal with them. One of the problems that I encountered, especially as a lady architect, was very early on in my profession. There was a client for whom we were doing a major refurbishment of his home. It was almost like doing a new home. And he actually wanted my partner to work on the project. But between the two of us, we had decided that I am going to work on the project. So I had started work. And he really didn't like that. He didn't like the fact that I was a lady working on the project. He didn't like me as a lady. He just didn't like anything. And he did not spare any opportunity to belittle me, to do professional abuse, and everything that undermined my confidence. He even started saying things about me to people we knew, common friends. And my partner at that point came and told me that, would you like me to take over this project? It'll just make things easier. But at that time, I turned around and said that this is not on. I mean, I cannot accept somebody undermining me like this. I have studied architecture as much as my partner. I have worked as hard as anyone else in this profession. And there is absolutely no reason why I cannot do this. So I hung on. I hung on against all odds. I hung on against all kinds of abuse. And I made sure that I went on to complete that project. And by God's grace, it turned out to be a very nice house, very clean, really minimalistic, and so much so that a lot of people came and appreciated it. And at the end of it, after the whole thing was over, the best part was that he called me up to say that, please come and collect your last check. So I think that sort of vindicated the fact that all you need to do is keep working and hang on. And that's not only about an architect. That I think holds good in any profession. If you give up, then you give up. But if you hang on and keep at it and keep facing the odds, then you will succeed. I mean, this was something that I experienced firsthand very, very early on in my profession. You know, I have always said, in fact, I have not said that, this is what was told to me when I went into School of Architecture. One of our professors, I would say it was our first week in architecture school, and he told us in the first studio class that, like every other profession, architecture is 99% hard work to realize the 1% design that you have in your mind. So while innovation and design is extremely important, to think out of the box, to explore and never feel scared of exploration. You cannot dream up a building. You will not make a building or any space or any bit of architecture or furniture or anything for that matter by just thinking about it and procrastinating and dreaming it. You have to put in the 99% of hard work that it is going to take to make it right, to make a good end product, whatever it may be, whether you're a graphic designer, a product designer, or an interior designer, or an architect, whatever may be your profession. Hard work, there are absolutely no substitutes to it. So sometimes the kids today feel that they can sort of, go around things to do things fast. But I think if you have read the book Outliers, there is a system. There is a reason why they say 10,000 hours are required to achieve where you are going to be. There is a reason to it. So you are not going to be able to circumvent that. Please realize that whatever the processes are there to move ahead, you have to follow them. You don't think of jumping and circumvent the processes. And that's really important. Today, a lot of kids think of going around it, and I think that's something they need to think through. So that is one very important thing that I want to convey. Also, what is important to convey is the fact that you need to believe in yourself. I don't mean it only as a woman, I mean it as an architect. I have never viewed myself as a woman when I'm working. I am an architect. An architect is a neutral gender that I consider. And that's what I would like everyone to consider. That I have a sister who's a lawyer, who's one of the top lawyers. And I have another sister who's a doctor. So we are three sisters, and we've been always pushed by our parents to go ahead and explore and do what we want, follow our dreams, and never give up. And that's what I would tell them. So I always attribute my attitude to my family, because I feel I come from an extremely emancipated Gujarati family where we three girls have been treated not as girls or boys, but as children. And children who were pushed at every stage in life to do whatever we wanted. My father was a judge, but actually none of us went into the legal profession to start with. I was an architect. My middle sister became she did her MBA, and my older sister became a doctor. But my middle sister eventually became a lawyer because she married a lawyer and he convinced her. So he sort of gave us wings to fly, to do what we wanted, and supported us with whatever we wanted. But he said that, please remember, I don't have anything to give you. I will give you support, I will give you education, but you have no inheritance. Whatever you do is going to be for yourself. Do not think that there is just something waiting for you and you can sit back and relax. So relaxing was never part of our agenda. And this is exactly what I want to tell the younger generation. Relaxing cannot be part of your agenda. Do what you think is right, follow your dreams, and never cease to work hard to achieve them.